nuclear war. Whoever thought humanity would get there? It all started after the Japanese invaded Pearl Harbor. It was a day that would live in infamy, forever etching itself into the collective memory of the world. The surprise attack shattered the illusion of peace and thrusted America into the heart of World War II. This is the story of the Pacific War, a conflict that shaped the modern world. A brutal journey from surprise attack to surrender, from the depths of despair to the first glimmers of hope for a lasting peace. And the enduring strength of the human spirit, a testament to resilience, forgiveness, and the unwavering pursuit of a better future. Let us begin. Let us delve into the history, the battles, and the human stories that define this pivotal chapter in world history. It was December 7, 1941. A date etched in infamy. A day that irrevocably changed the course of history. It's a date that resonates even today, a stark reminder of the fragility of peace and the suddenness with which it can be shattered. On a tranquil Sunday morning, the Hawaiian Islands basked in the warmth of the sun. Little did the inhabitants know that this serenity was about to be brutally disrupted. Japanese aircraft, a swarm of deadly metal birds, descended on Pearl Harbor, shattering the peace in a matter of minutes. The surprise attack caught the American forces completely off guard. Battleships exploded in fiery eruptions, their steel hulls torn asunder by torpedoes and bombs. The harbor, once a symbol of American naval power, became a scene of unimaginable destruction. The USS Arizona, a proud symbol of American naval might, was tragically lost with over 1,000 men trapped within its burning hull. It became a watery grave, a permanent memorial to the lives lost that day. And chaos reigned supreme. Smoke billowed, flames leaped, and the air filled with the screams of the wounded and dying. It was a scene of utter pandemonium. In under 2 hours, 21 ships were sunk or severely damaged, crippling the Pacific Fleet and leaving the nation reeling in shock and disbelief. And more than 2,400 Americans were killed, their lives cut short in a sudden and brutal act of war. Their sacrifice would not be forgotten. The attack was undeniably a tactical triumph for Japan, achieving surprise and inflicting heavy damage, but it proved to be a strategic disaster of immense proportions. The American aircraft carriers fortunately survived the attack, being out at sea on training missions. This proved crucial for the battles to come. And the nation's long-held isolationism vanished overnight, replaced by a burning desire for revenge and a unified determination to defend American values. Admiral Yamamoto's greatest fear was realized. A sleeping giant had been violently awakened, now united in its resolve to fight and fueled by its immense industrial capacity. A missed warning, the USS Ward's sinking of a Japanese midget submarine hours before the main attack remains a haunting what if, a chilling reminder of how close disaster came to being averted. Had the alarm been raised and properly communicated, had the warnings been heeded, the outcome of that fateful day might have been drastically different. Instead, America was violently thrust into the global conflict of World War II, forever altering its destiny and solidifying its role as a world power. The vast expanse of the Pacific would never be the same, transformed into a theater of war, a battleground for naval supremacy and the fate of nations. The world watched with bated breath as the United States, now fully mobilized, began its massive preparations to strike back against the aggressor. The war had truly begun in earnest, a global struggle for freedom and democracy. The tide of the conflict was about to turn, and the world held its breath. The months after Pearl Harbor were grim. The attack had been a devastating blow, leaving the American public reeling and the Pacific Fleet severely weakened. The sense of invincibility that many Americans had felt was shattered, replaced by a stark realization of the vulnerability of the nation. Japan seemed unstoppable. Their forces swept across the Pacific, conquering island after island with frightening speed and efficiency. From Wake Island to Guam, Allied outposts fell one after another, and the Japanese flag was raised in triumph. The seemingly endless string of victories fueled their ambition and instilled fear in the hearts of their enemies. But in May 1942, a crucial turning point was on the horizon. The relentless Japanese advance was about to meet its first significant check. The Battle of the Coral Sea changed everything. It was a clash of titans, a naval engagement fought with a new kind of weapon, the aircraft carrier. For the first time, fleets fought without seeing each other, launching waves of aircraft from hundreds of miles away. The battle was a complex dance of strategy and technology, a testament to the evolving nature of naval warfare. Aircraft carriers ruled the waves. These floating airfields became the new capital ships, capable of projecting power across vast distances. The Japanese advance was halted, their plans to isolate Australia thwarted, a strategic victory for the Allies. Although a tactical draw, the Coral Sea prevented the Japanese from achieving their objectives, providing a much-needed boost to Allied morale. Then, in June, came Midway. This tiny atoll in the middle of the Pacific would become the site of one of the most decisive battles in naval history. American codebreakers led by Commander Rochefort had been working tirelessly to decipher Japanese naval codes, cracked the Japanese plan revealing their target and their intentions. This intelligence breakthrough gave the Americans a crucial advantage. Admiral Nimitz set a trap. He knew the Japanese were coming, and he was ready. In a pivotal 5 minutes, fate intervened. U.S. dive bombers destroyed 4 Japanese carriers, crippling their fleet and turning the tide of the battle. The Japanese Navy never recovered from this devastating blow. The loss of these carriers, along with their experienced pilots, was a crippling blow to their war effort. The tide of war had shifted, the momentum swinging in favor of the Allies. From defeat to hope, the dark days after Pearl Harbor were beginning to fade. The Allies seized the initiative, taking the fight to the enemy. The Pacific would now see a new kind of warfare, a long and arduous campaign across vast distances. One of intelligence, where codebreakers played a vital role in uncovering enemy secrets. Risk, with commanders making life-or-death decisions based on incomplete information. And relentless assault, as the Allies pushed closer and closer to the Japanese homeland. The road to Tokyo had begun, a long and bloody path that would test the resolve of both sides. The Allies were on the offensive, determined to bring the war to a decisive conclusion. The balance of power had changed forever, the United States emerging as a dominant force in the Pacific. With Midway won, America launched its island-hopping campaign. Instead of storming every fortress, they seized key islands, isolating Japanese garrisons. Guadalcanal was the first test, a brutal, 6-month struggle in jungle and mud. Disease, hunger, and hand-to-hand combat defined the fight, but the U.S. prevailed. Intelligence struck again. Operation Vengeance brought down Admiral Yamamoto, shattering Japanese morale. At Tarawa, Marines faced a deadly reef and withering fire. Over 1,000 died in 3 days. The cost was staggering, but each victory brought the Allies closer to Japan. The Pacific Campaign was a crucible of sacrifice and learning. Every island won was paid for in blood. The path to victory was paved with courage and loss. By 1944, America's war machine was unstoppable. The Mariana Islands were the next target, crucial for launching B-29 bombers at Japan. The Battle of the Philippine Sea became the Great Marianas Turkey Shoot. Over 600 Japanese planes lost in a day. Japan's naval air power was shattered. Then came Leyte Gulf, the largest naval battle ever. Kamikaze attacks began and a small U.S. force, Taffy 3, faced Japan's mightiest ships. Against all odds they held the line. Admiral Kurita's retreat remains a mystery. MacArthur returned to the Philippines and Japan's navy was finished. The sea belonged to the Allies and MacArthur was highly celebrated back in the States. The final battles loomed. 1945, American forces reached Japan's doorstep. Iwo Jima, a volcanic fortress, became a symbol of sacrifice. Marines fought through ash and tunnels. The flag on Suribachi was just the beginning. Nearly all 21,000 Japanese defenders died. The cost was immense. Next came Okinawa, the bloodiest battle of the Pacific. Kamikaze attacks rained down, sinking dozens of ships. On land, soldiers and civilians suffered alike. The island became a vision of hell. The ferocity convinced U.S. planners that invading Japan would be catastrophic. In desperation, Japan prepared biological weapons. Plans never carried out, but chilling in intent. The battles of Iwo Jima and Okinawa showed the terrible price of victory. The world braced for what might come next. The endgame was at hand. The fate of Japan and the world hung in the balance. By summer 1945, Japan was devastated but refused to surrender. President Truman faced a grim choice: invade or unleash a new weapon. On August 6th, the decision was made. The Enola Gay dropped the atomic bomb on Hiroshima. Tens of thousands died in an instant. Still, Japan held out. 3 days later, the Soviets invaded Manchuria, and a second bomb fell on Nagasaki. The shock was overwhelming. Emperor Hirohito intervened, breaking with his military and accepting surrender. On August 15th, Japan heard his voice. War was over. On September 2nd, aboard the USS Missouri, the surrender was signed. The most destructive war in history had ended. The world had entered the nuclear age. The fire of Pearl Harbor was extinguished by a light that changed humanity forever. The war's end did not erase its scars. The USS Indianapolis tragedy, hundreds lost to sharks and the sea, remains a haunting symbol of the war's cost. At Truk Lagoon, sunken Japanese ships form a ghost fleet, now a diver's paradise and an environmental threat. Oil and ordnance still lurk below, risking disaster for future generations. The Pacific's waters hold memories and dangers that endure. The consequences of war linger long after the guns fall silent. The Pacific's ghosts remind us of the price paid. The legacy is not just history, it is a warning. The Pacific War remains shrouded in mystery and debate. How did Pearl Harbor's warnings go unheeded? Why did Admiral Nagumo call off a third attack? The decision to use atomic bombs, necessity or warning to the Soviets? The questions endure. Admiral Kurita's retreat at Leyte Gulf, the fate of the Indianapolis, the moral cost of victory, these are not just footnotes. They challenge us to reflect on leadership, intelligence, and the true price of war. The Pacific War's lessons are as vital now as ever. Understanding the past is the only way to safeguard the future. The story continues, written in memory, mystery, and the hope for peace. We hope you enjoyed the story. Follow, like, and comment. History Icebreakers.